Where all the people that own Stephen A? She not gonna do that. Let her cook. I want to know what y'all saying now.
Following the rumors about Caitlin Clark Europe, ESPN is having its own meltdown. Caitlin may be leaving for Europe, and it appears that ESPN is beginning to feel bad about how they handled Clark all season. ESPN was the place to watch Caitlin Clark be underappreciated and undervalued. They never respected her, and now they believe they have the power to decide whether or not she travels to Europe.
Okay, cool. Now we just have to have people because of marketing and their attention, and they're not as talented. We're not putting the best team out.
All year long, ESPN essentially denied Caitlin credit, with analyst Molly Karam claiming that she was making fun of the sport. How could she say that without laughing? Caitlin Clark transformed the sport and encouraged conversation.
The league versus Caitlin Clark, and that is just absolutely false. It is unfair to the women that have been there building this league to this moment so that Caitlin Clark's popularity could take it to the next level.
Caitlin Clark was the most fouled player of the season and even had a black eye at one point. Another expert denied that players were targeting her. Let's hope Caitlin can utilize her vacation time to look into European options that would sink ESPN and WNBA and leave them with nothing to discuss.
We're making a basketball argument.
We're not saying No, Andrea, I'm not going to let you do that.
Go ahead,
Andrea, I'm not going to let you make it seem like Caitlin Clark was averaging 5 points a game. At the time, she was still averaging 16 points a game, which was more than a lot of other guards that made the team. So don't do that. Don't make it seem like she was averaging 5 points and this was like a handout.
Given the speculation circulating regarding Caitlin's possible move to Europe rather than pursuing her WNBA career, it appears that ESPN and its experts are unable to manage the pressure that she brings. ESPN has spent the entire season disparaging and undermining Caitlin, frequently downplaying her accomplishments while promoting others. Now, they face the very real possibility that the player they have continuously disregarded may leave the American spotlight and take her talents abroad, so it should come as no surprise that they are in a panic, knowing full well that losing Caitlin would be a huge blow to their viewership and content.
Her value is felt every place she goes, every arena she goes. TV, ratings, value.
For months, ESPN has been downplaying Caitlin's talents, often drawing comparisons between her and Angel Reese, another rising star in women's basketball. From the very start of the season, the narrative ESPN pushed was clear: Angel Reese was having a better season, and Caitlin Clark, despite her undeniable star power, was somehow failing to live up to the immense expectations placed on her after her record-breaking college career at Iowa. The comparison seemed endless, with ESPN analysts like Molly Karam and Monica Minut fueling the fire, questioning Caitlin's place among the league's top players and suggesting that her style of play was making a mockery of the women's game.
The response of folks that don't think she is praised enough and she is above reproach in terms of criticism, or that praising another player is an affront to her, is like, whoa, bro. Also, you're in my mentions talking about women's basketball. I've never ever seen you before in my life.
The scathing criticism seemed purposeful, almost as if ESPN had set out to undermine Caitlin's success by continuously casting her in the background of her peers rather than acknowledging her contributions to the game. However, this is where the karma comes in. ESPN is now terrified that if Caitlin Clark relocates to Europe, they won't be able to discuss her anymore. That's right, the player they disparaged throughout the season for not being a true star may pack her bags and depart, taking her enormous fan base with her. ESPN's failure to see Caitlin's influence from the beginning could cost them dearly for months. ESPN presented Caitlin as only valued because of her ability to attract viewers, claiming that she wasn't a true star on the court but rather the result of media hype. However, now that her departure is a real possibility, they're working quickly to change that narrative.
You guys were right. That's what we're saying. You
no, Molly, you did not say that, Molly. No,
That is what you said.
That is not what you said, Molly.
What are you guys
that is not what you said.
They have come to understand that Caitlin is much more than just a player. They have developed whole narratives and conversations around her. Her departure to Europe would have an effect not only on ESPN's programming but also on the WNBA, which both mainly depended on her appeal to increase viewership and engagement. Take a look at how their perspectives have evolved.
That's why we would love for the WNBA to make voting not anonymous. Because if you were the person that had that one vote, you should just be able to stand on it, and we should know who you are. In the NBA, voting is not anonymous.
Yeah.
So I would love for the WNBA
Agreed.
to make the voting so we see who put the votes where. That's all I'm
Throughout the season, Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharpe were among the few voices that consistently defended Caitlin Clark, reminding viewers of her undeniable greatness on the court. Smith and Sharpe acknowledged that Caitlin was unfairly singled out by both ESPN and WNBA players because of her rookie status and the enormous amount of attention she received while in college. They contended that the scrutiny she received was excessive and that she had already established herself as one of the game's top talents. Despite their support, Caitlin received a flurry of criticism from other ESPN analysts, especially Molly Qerim and Monica McNutt. Caitlin was constantly criticized by PN analysts, and WNBA players also targeted her because they saw her as the league's newest high-profile rookie who needed to be humbled and put in her place. The amount of positive and negative attention she received was overwhelming, but Caitlin rose above the noise and proved her skeptics wrong by having one of the most incredible rookie seasons the WNBA has ever seen. Her resilience and elite play were evident when she helped turn around the fortunes of the Indiana Fever and solidified her place as one of the game's brightest young stars.
Indiana Fever have 2 All-Stars in their starting lineup. They also have the reigning Rookie of the Year. Chicago has none of that. So the lift for Angel Reese has been much greater.
In charge of the Indiana Fever, it was no minor accomplishment for a team that had spent years near the bottom of the WNBA to earn their first postseason berth in what seemed like an eternity. Caitlin Clark not only made it through her first season, but flourished, putting on shows that silenced even her most critical detractors. She was under constant pressure to succeed, but her poise and skill on the court were truly amazing. She took a team that many had written off and turned them around by demonstrating her leadership and unrivaled talent.
If we say her stats are today, what?
20 points, 8.4 assists, 6 rebounds.
That's crazy.
But 5.6
turnovers.
Those are
hell of a number.
Those are hell of a numbers.
But to me, that's not dominating.
Even so, ESPN still felt that Caitlin's achievements were insufficient, as they had spent the majority of the season downplaying her influence. Only in the final moments of the season, when Caitlin's dominance was unavoidable, did they feel compelled to alter their narrative and start praising Caitlin as the star they had spent the majority of the season disparaging. It was almost comical how quickly ESPN changed course and started to acknowledge Caitlin's brilliance.
Oh, stop being petty. Stop being catty, because she like a double-edged sword. She couldn't tell left and right. And it's bothering y'all, and I see it. Let's go, Caitlin. Hey, do me a favor, CC. Send your favorite uncle a jersey with your autograph on it. And I will.
But here's the thing. Caitlin didn't require ESPN's approval since she had previously shown everyone wrong during a season in which she was expected to struggle and was frequently singled out by players and commentators who said she wasn't prepared for the limelight. Caitlin Clark delivered in a way no one expected. Despite the noise, she became the defining player of her rookie class, and now with all the tension, pressure and targeting she's faced from the league and ESPN, it would almost make sense for Caitlin to consider moving to Europe. Such a move would send a powerful message showing ESPN and the WBA exactly what they'd be missing if they continue to undervalue one of their brightest stars.
Between draft day viewership, which is up 400% to 40%. Between ticket sales, which is up 93% to 16%. Between regular game viewership, which is up 180% to 20%. What Caitlin Clark has done is grown the WNBA exponentially. She did in 5 weeks what would have taken 5 years. And as it pertains to draft viewership, she did in 5 days.
Between ticket sales, which are up 93% to 16%, and regular game viewership, which is up 180% to 20%, draft viewership is up 400% to 40%. What CL in 5 weeks, Caitlin Clark expanded the WNBA as much as it would have in 5 years, and in terms of draft viewing, she did so in 5 days.
Talk about the most watched WNBA Finals game ever. You know why? Because I've been telling you about the Caitlin Clark impact. It's nice to see something other than Caitlin Clark having a profound influence on the race.
In fact, Caitlin Clark chooses to further her skills abroad. ESPN and the WNBA will only be held accountable because they had every chance to promote one of the best young players in the league, but instead they chose to disparage her, downplay her achievements, and undermine her influence on the league. Without Caitlin, the WNBA's ratings would undoubtedly plummet. Remember, celebrities like Caitlyn bring with them a devoted, ardent fan base that follows them everywhere they go. If she decides to leave, her fans will follow her to Europe, and the WNBA may find it difficult to sustain the momentum it had worked so hard to build.
Years ago, their home attendance was 1,800 fans. Their average this year, home attendance, is 17,000.
ESPN would also be severely impacted by Caitlyn's departure because the network thrives on constructing stories around famous athletes, and Caitlyn Clark has been one of their most talked about players throughout the season. Sure, they may have occasionally belittled her accomplishments and harassed her, but there's no doubting that Caitlyn was a frequent subject of discussion on practically every sports program. Regardless of whether they were disparaging or cautiously applauding her, Caitlyn dominated much of ESPN's coverage of women's basketball. Her performances in games and also off-court court proceedings were frequently examined and discussed. If she departs for Europe, what will they discuss in her absence from the WNBA? ESPN's programming will be conspicuously deficient. The stories and conversations they have grown to rely on would be severely disrupted by Caitlyn's departure, leaving SC scrambling to cover the gap she would surely leave behind. In order to avoid losing a player who could have served as the league's face for many years to come, the WNBA must treat its lead star better. If Caitlyn Clark chooses to take her skills to Europe, she will still be a star, but the WNBA and ESPN will have to work hard to fill the enormous gap she leaves behind. Caitlyn Clark is not simply another gifted rookie, she is a revolutionary figure with the ability to improve the entire league. In women's basketball, Caitlyn Clark embodies a new era when players have greater control over their careers and are not dependent on the league or the media to define their legacy. This change empowers athletes to make choices based on their own goals rather than external influences. Despite ESPN's efforts to discredit her throughout the season, Caitlyn's accomplishments speak for themselves. She has repeatedly shown that she is more than capable of handling criticism and rising above the noise.